and welcome to JD Undisputed. And we're here at the JD store in Cardiff because we're actually going to be talking about a massive weekend for British boxing because Anthony Joshua is going to be holding on to his heavyweight title against Carlos Takam. Now, that's also going to be going on around the corner at the Principality Stadium. And we've got two guests with us tonight. One of them's just throwing his microphone around. We have got former WBA lightweight champion, Anthony Crolla.
Thank you. Thank you.
And two-weight world champion and Hall of Famer, Joe Calzaghe. Welcome, guys. How are you both?
Good, Joe?
Yeah, good. All good.
Good to see your microphone's still working after that.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be here. It's good to be back in Cardiff. What can I say? You know, it was going to be a great night for Cardiff on Saturday. Great fight with AJ fighting. It's going to be 10 years nearly to the day that I fought Mikkel Kessler, so it's good to come back today to see them at the stadium. So it was, yeah, great.
Well, that's obviously one of the things we're going to be talking about, the fight against Anthony Joshua and Carlos Takam. We'll also be looking at the Bellew and Haye rematch, which will kick off on December 17th. We'll also be talking about Katie Taylor, the Irish women's boxing champion and Olympic gold medalist. We'll be looking back to your fight, Anthony, back in Manchester, which will be great to talk about. We'll also have Carl Frampton, and finally we'll be looking at Martin J. Ward in his press-up challenge. So let's get started because we've got a lot to get through. Let's have a look and see at the Anthony Joshua preview.
The pressure's on. It was a good fight with Klitschko. Massive respect to him. Takes two to tango. And we're here now. People want to say, I was there. I was at the Principality Stadium, but they want to say, I saw a good fight.
It's another thing doing it if you feel it. What was a fantastic night here at the Wembley Stadium. We couldn't have asked for much more.
AJ spent 10 weeks preparing for the style of Pulev. Now he's got 10 days to prepare for the style of Takam. It's tough for AJ to adapt in such short time. You know, maybe at this stage a tougher opponent because of the lack of preparation. There's nothing you can do to not let it affect you because when you've prepared for 10 weeks for Pulev, you've sparred the guys that are a style like him, you've pictured him in your mind, you've watched your YouTube videos, and now all of a sudden it's another guy who you've got to focus on, who you've got to study. Now he's probably got 5 spars left where we're going to bring in shorter, more aggressive guys that have relentless pressure like Takam. It's a tough spot for him, but he's a consummate professional and he's got to deal with it, and he will. He's always going to be learning, probably till he gets to late 20s, 30 fights, and sometimes he wears his heart on his sleeve, and this could be the same in a Takam fight. Takam will bring relentless pressure. He will try and have a war with AJ at all moments. AJ's got to stay disciplined. If he unravels again like he did against Klitschko, you know, you're going to see more fireworks, but AJ fights like that, he's exciting, people love to watch him, and you've got an all-action fight on October 28th. You know, 78,000 people will just be bouncing in there. And you're lucky that we're in an era where fighters, or particularly Anthony Joshua, can fill these arenas. We can see major boxing events packing out and selling out the biggest stadiums in the country. It's going to be a special night. I'll be pleased when it's over because it's a different kind of fight. You know, it's a different kind of pressure. It's a pressure fighter. It's someone who's going to let his hands go. And it's going to be very exciting. I hope he can take him out early, but we don't want to see this go into, you know, 7, 8, 9 rounds, into the championship rounds and into the trenches. We know AJ doesn't mind it in the trenches, but I'd rather an easy night.
So, Joe, I'm going to come to you first. Eddie Hearn there talked about Anthony Joshua's preparation. Now, he had 10 weeks, you know, thinking about what he was going to do against Pulev. He's had 10 days for Takam. Is that going to be a massive issue for him?
No, I don't think so. I think, as a lot of champions, you have to adapt. I've had problems with opponents that pulled out in fights like a week before. You just have to adapt to the new opponent. And after the fight with Klitschko, he fought such a great fight against Klitschko. He went down. He showed he got the heart of a champion coming back and winning that fight. So obviously he's prepared for Pulev, who's a lot taller fighter. This guy, I think, is shorter, different style. But you know, I think AJ has all the attributes to go on and do the business in style. It'll be like a good show on the Saturday, fireworks, I think. What do you think?
I think Pulev, certainly on paper, is a much harder fight. And, you know, Takam, he's took fights the distance. You know, Joseph Parker lost on points, but I believe we're talking about a different animal with AJ. And although he's had some good wins, I'd be very surprised if it doesn't go early on a Saturday night. I think we're talking rounds 1 to 4. He puts on a devastating performance.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be over pretty quick.
And you touched upon his last fight, like against Klitschko. That was huge for him and a massive learning curve as well. What do you think he's going to take from that fight into this one on Saturday?
Well, I just think it's the experience. I think he's just going to show the public. Obviously, you've only had 20 fights, knocked everybody out. So, you know, you can train all you want, but the experience comes in the ring, under the lights. You know, and to go down against Klitschko, be badly hurt, and for a few rounds, a lot of people thought he was going to lose. To dig deep and come back the way he came back against an amazing fight like Klitschko, a legend, you know, he's going to be a better fight from that experience, and I think he'll just take it in his stride come the weekend and take care of business in style, I think. And
Anthony, what do you think of his opposition, Takam? Because he's not going to go down too easily, is he?
He's going to be, you know, in half decent shape, but I just think there's levels to this, and AJ is levels above him. But everyone who's coming out, I'm sure people of Cardiff, it's great for Cardiff to have a big fight back here since the man on my right here, and I can't believe it's 10 years. I was only saying to Joe before, it was I remember it being there, and it was one of the best nights in boxing that I can remember, and hopefully we're in for another special night on Saturday.
So Joe, what can AJ expect? You know, when he's in that ring with that crowd, all shouting his name.
Listen, it's going to be a great crowd. You know, the Welsh man, we have great supporters. It's going to be a passionate crowd. The roof is going to be on. It's great. It's one of the best memories I can ever remember. You know, to fight here against Kessler in your home stadium was amazing. So he's in for a treat. I think the fans are in for a treat. It's a great undercard. There's some good Welsh talent, and I think it's just great for Cardiff to get World Championship boxing back here again after 10 years, and hopefully he'll come back again soon. Assuming
AJ goes on to win, what can we expect to see in terms of opposition and where he's going to go next?
The fight every boxing fan wants to see. If we take Tyson Fury out of the equation, you know, first and foremost, is Deontay Wilder, which unification fight. And that's the fight I think everyone wants to see next year. So whether it be back here at the Principality Stadium or at Wembley, either one of the two, that's the biggest fight in the heavyweight division until Tyson Fury gets right.
Yeah. Joe? I agree. At the end of the day, he's going to want to fight the best. You know, who the best are, we don't know. I'm not sure who the best fighters to give him the best thing. Obviously, Tyson Fury, like you just touched on, would be a great fight if he got his license back. You know, I think it'll be a great fight. The thing is, the risk is when you're world champion, you can lower your standards a little bit, because I remember fighting defenses you're supposed to win easy, looking not great, but you pick yourself up for the big fight. So I just hope after this fight, we'll see a unification fight. So go on, give us and what everyone wants to know your prediction for Saturday night.
By round 3, it'll all be all over, in my opinion.
Okay. Go on, Joe. What's
I don't
yours?
want to be boring and agree. I want to say something different to Anthony, though. But I have to agree. I just think, obviously, this guy is going to be, you know, I know he's trained for the fight, but it's going to be like a rabbit in the headlights. You know, he's fighting the best heavyweight in the world. His difference in size and everything else. To walk out in that stadium, I'd be surprised if he lasts more than 2 or 3 rounds myself. I hope so, because give the fans, you know, a fight and see a few rounds, but I'd just be surprised. Well, look forward to the fight, won't we, on Saturday night, and we'll see if you get those predictions right. Okay, so moving on, we'll go to our next item. We're not far away from Christmas, but before the big jolly day on the 25th, we've got a date in the diary, which is the 17th of December. And that is the rematch of Tony Bellew and David Haye. We spoke to Tony, and here's what he had to say.
This fight is called Bellew Haye, not Haye Bellew. He has to understand that. I'm going to end David Haye's career on December the 17th. There is no two ways about that. I have a lot of options on the table and a lot of offers, but ultimately, you know, I'm thinking the fans wanted to see this one more than they did any of the others, so this fight could be over in 20 seconds. If he hits me clean with that right hand, I'm going down. I mean, I'm going to keep getting up until the referee saves me, but I'll go down. If I hit him clean with my left hook, it's the same outcome. He's going down. So I believe I've beaten him, and he will not accept it, and he will only purely look at the injury as why I beat him. He does not think I'm a better fighter. He doesn't even think I'm in the same league or calibre as him. David is a control freak and an egotistical maniac. The funny part about this fight is he is not the boss. Been out the ring for quite a while. My body did need that break. I've come back refreshed and I'm just ready to get back to work now. To be totally honest, I've missed punching people in the face. I've listened to the fans, I've sat down with my promoter, I've sat down with my team. I'll go with what they believe is right. I trust Eddie Haye to make the best decision for me. He says this is the best move, so we're just going to go with it. I don't watch the David Haye from the last fight, I watched the David Haye from 2009. That's the best version of David Haye. I think he's a brilliant fighter. I think he's an absolute plant pot of a person, but I think he's a really good fighter. I feel I've got nothing left to prove. Last time was no fluke, and that injury played no part in what was going to happen to David. If anything, it just prolonged the pain. I believe it would have stopped him even quicker. When David Haye loses to me again on December the 17th, there is nowhere left to go. December the 17th is his day of reckoning.
Well, loads of trash talk there from Tony Bellew, and to be honest, he's probably just scratching the surface. I can only see it getting worse, not only from him, but also Mr. David Haye.
Listen, just wait till the build-up to the fight, the press conferences, fight week. The gloves are off, which we always see, and things will really heat up, and listen, that's what sells. I think we've seen it last time. The amount of people who tuned in, a lot of them was purely because of the build-up, and I think we'll see a similar kind of build-up this time.
And in terms of the match itself, Joe?
It's a lot of question marks. Bellew's going to probably be more confident in himself, and with David Haye, it's how much he got left in the tank. That's the main thing. I think David Haye, near his best, wins the fight, but like you seen last time, anything can happen in boxing. I think the trash talking might be better than the fight. We'll have to wait and see. There's so much a case in some fights, but it's a fight I'm looking forward to watching. I think it should be interesting, but if David Haye loses this fight, that's the end really for him.
Well, David likened apparently to this Bellew's victory to robbing a bank. Do you think that's a fair assessment, or do you think he's been a bit too harsh?
Listen, I think it's a little bit harsh, and there again, it's things to sell. It's to sell the fight. Like I said earlier, Bellew, he done very well the first 2 or 3 rounds before he was injured. He was coming back into it. We don't know what would have happened. To say robbing a bank, I don't agree with that, but it sells, and I think a lot of that's probably to try and rile Tony Bellew.
There's so many question marks. We do not know how good David Haye is now. What's left? Yeah, what's left in the tank? With
Do you
all
think
the
that's going to be a
injuries,
bigger concern than what people actually realise?
well, Tony Bellew's on an upward curve. He's got confidence, even more confidence now than he did last time, and he believes in himself. And when the fighter really believes in himself, they can win. And it's all down now to David Haye to show his old form. He needs to be somewhere near his best, I think. The old David Haye, sharp, as he was a cruiserweight to win the fight, I think.
The fight with Tony Bellew, I think anyone who's a boxing fan out there will know, that was his first real fight in a good few years, because he'd had two combat fights, but without being disrespectful, I respect everyone who gets in the ring, but there was horrendous opponents. It was terrible. I'm sure, listen, you could go and pull a man who works off Witherspoons up the road or about the road, and it would have been just as competitive as those 2 fights.
They were from Witherspoons.
Mate, well, I think the guy at Witherspoons would have beat him. But yeah, so it was his first time, and it done him no favours, those fights, when he got in with someone live like Tony Bellew. So we'll see this fight now, if that's got rid of the rust off. He's coming back from a bad injury as well. We'll see what David Haye's got left on December the 17th.
Okay, so should he go to win that, do you think there'll be a trilogy, or is that looking too far ahead?
No, there is a good chance of the trilogy. It'll either be a David Haye, Tony Bellew trilogy, or it'll be David Haye, Anthony Joshua.
Okay, so before we move on quickly, are you going to go for Haye or Bellew?
Personally, I think there's a lot of question marks, but I think if David Haye is somewhere near his best, I think David Haye will win the fight. But it'll be a tough fight.
And?
I'll be different, like Joe says, and I'm going to back my mate. But no, I think Tony Bellew can do it, but I think this time it'll be on points.
Okay, so our next piece we're going to talk about is a lady which we spoke about, and that's Katie Taylor. She's 2012 Olympic gold champion. And we sent someone over to chat to her at her camp in the US to see how she's been preparing for her world champion fight.
It's definitely been a great start. It gives me great confidence going into this fight. I think ever since I turned pro, I've wanted to box for world titles and be in these big fights, and I think I'm right on track. But I think I've made a nice progression in each fight. I've improved on each fight as well, and I feel like I'm getting stronger and better each time. This has been a really long camp for this fight as well, so I'm definitely going into this fight with great confidence. Ever since I turned pro, I've moved out here training with Ross, and it's been absolutely incredible. The training has definitely been a lot more intense. Physically, I feel stronger and better. I feel like I'm in the best shape I've ever been as well.
Initially, we had been in contact through email, and she had come out here for a 3-week camp just to kind of test the waters out. And after the 3 weeks, we worked well together, and someone who's willing to fly halfway around the world to come train, it was obviously how dedicated she was, so it was a pretty easy decision to take her on.
I'm more than ready to box for these big world titles. I'm definitely ready for a tough 10-round battle.
I always say Katie's not just good for a female, she's just a good boxer, period. So I think she ranks up there with anybody as far as her athleticism, her skill, her hard-working nature. She's very dedicated to the task. And someone who's willing to basically pack up their life and fly over to America just to train. She would train anywhere. So to come over here and resettle and live here, she's definitely dedicated. She wants to be the best that she could be.
I get great confidence just from my preparation, and I never cut any corners in training, and I think my speed is definitely going to be key in this fight. My jab's going to be key in this fight as well.
Obviously her amateur background, she's got a ton more amateur experience than Sanchez, so I wouldn't say that the fact that she's had less professional fights makes a difference at all. It's
been an absolute dream, really, ever since I started boxing. I think I dreamed of boxing in these big stadiums and on these big shows, so this is why I train so hard. These are the moments I dream of, really.
Now, Anthony, you spoke before how amazing she's been for the women's game, but Joe, what makes her such a talented fighter?
She's just a good fighter. I don't really, she fights like a guy. She's good. I don't mean in a disrespectful way, but she's basically transcended women's boxing. The way watch her fight, her skills, I think are excellent. Her dedication. I watched her in the Olympics back in 2012. I thought she's good, but to keep going and be dedicated to your sport. And the fight the way she does, with the combinations, is just incredible. I think she's a really top fight. I'm actually looking forward to watching the box on the weekend.
And in terms of her record, she's had 6 wins and 4 of them have been knockouts. Do you think, looking ahead to this undercard fight on Saturday, she can, look to do the same, get another knockout on there?
Yeah, listen, it's the toughest fight of her professional career, but she's so talented, and the way she throws punches in bunches, she's certainly capable of getting a stoppage, and I think she might do late on.
In terms of Katie's mindset, what's she going to be thinking when she's going into that ring?
I just think she's going to prepare for another fight. Obviously, it's a big fight, it's a world title fight, but throughout her career, she's boxed the best in the Olympics and in the World Championships as an amateur. So although she's inexperienced as a professional, really she's been boxing for years, So I'm sure she'll be going into this fight dedicated and believing she could win. And what I love about her style as well, that the way she attacks, she wants to impress, and she throws combinations like punches in bunches, and I love her movement. So I think it's going to be a great fight. Obviously, she boxed in the World Championship, was a step up, so I think it's going to maybe a tough fight, but hopefully she wins.
And in terms of the women's game in boxing, she's almost leading the way, isn't she, for the likes of Natasha Jonas, Nicola Adams? They've all gone pro now. Is the women's game kind of rapidly expanding?
And bigger. Yeah. I think 2012 was a big thing because there's a lot of people unsure about it, and the 2012 Olympics, which she was probably the star of in the women's game, just shown people just how high a level it is, and it's getting plenty of young girls into it, and the talent coming through is unbelievable on the women's side, and it's only going from strength to strength.
Well, we'll definitely be tuning in for that one. Now, our next part, Anthony, you're going to be very excited about, because this actually includes you.
Okay.
So it's Two guys who have been at the top of the game for a long time now. We've obviously got one with us, Anthony Crolla, and he took on Ricky Burns at Manchester last month. So we're going to have a look at that, and also we'll have a look at the JD Next Gen, which took place at York Hall in Manchester.
By unanimous decision, the fighting pride of Manchester, Anthony
Great fight. I mean, a little cagey for 4 rounds, and then they just started going at it. Great finish. I thought it was a close fight. I thought Crolla did enough to nick the fight, but Burns finished strong in the 12th there, and listen, two great guys. You know, they both deserve a huge amount of credit for what they've put in. They gave the fans a great fight, and you know, a good win for Anthony Crolla.
So special, Manchester. I love you.
Talk us through the fight. The general consensus was it was close. Were you sure that you had done enough?
Yeah, I thought I'd definitely done enough, but man, I knew how this guy's engine was, and he just kept coming, and people was on about me thinking, oh, would he tire because he's come down to lightweight? I knew he wouldn't, and he gave me a very, very tough fight, but I thought that my quality of shots won it.
Oh, 100%. Do you know, although it was close, right, I thought I'd done enough to edge out there. I'd say I was landing the cleaner shots. I'm a wee bit gutted, man, but you know, I would let fans when he's up for it. If Eddie can make it happen, let's do it.
You've been written off before, countless times. Can you come again?
Oh, Joe, in my eyes, honestly, I thought I just edged that, man. Sorry, Anthony, but that's what I think, man.
Nice, Laudy. Listen, in a hard fight, you're going to feel that. I thought it was quality over quantity. But I understand when Ricky pushes himself hard, that's what I thought, but I thought I deserved the win tonight.
Respect to both of you.
Jonas moves on, 3-0. Isaac Chamberlain moves on. I thought Ted Cheeseman boxed well against a tough opponent as well. Harlem Eubank came on for his first show, nice backflips into the ring. Charlie Edwards was ticking over. The stars move on, and Rhys Bellotti certainly moves on. I'd like to see him get a shot at British title. The last fight particularly, Rhys Bellotti is one of the most exciting fighters in the country and was behind in the fight. I think it was clear for all to see. But he has unbelievable power, and you know, the knockdown in round 5 was incredible, and the finish was electric. And you know, York Hall's a special place. When you get fights like that, Commonwealth, British title fights with big ticket sellers, it really does create a great atmosphere, and that was one of them tonight. Sometimes a fight like that can get lost on a bigger card at 5 or 6 o'clock at night. And you know, you want to make sure that the big cards still have good championship undercards, but you know, when you've got a fight like that, to give Rhys the platform and you know, to go and headline the event 10 PM prime time on Sky Sports, it's very important for his career. A lot more pressure in here. A lot of fighters, Conor Benn said recently, he felt more pressure boxing here than he did at the O2 for his debut. You know, it's a bear pit in here, and it's really good for their development.
Yeah, good. It was a learning curve for me. I learned a lot in that fight. Great way to end it. A good hard fighter who's never been stopped. So yeah, hopefully I'm impressed. Yeah, we knew that it was going to come out and be very awkward for the first couple of rounds. I may lose a couple of rounds. We expected that in the gym, and we planned for it. And I'm more than happy that I got the win tonight. I think he's a great opponent. My best to date by a mile. It's the best atmosphere I've ever boxed under. I always love York Hall. The atmosphere is always great. I've done quite a few tickets tonight, and I'm glad I performed for the fans.
It was amazing.
It was a good night.
It was my first experiencing fights live, and I'm scarred forever.
You've seen a few fights where guys were
not in the squared circle. Yeah, not in the squared circle. Yeah, I've loved the fight game. I think there's a beauty and obviously a brutality too. But I think the thing which was on display tonight as well, more than anything, was just the heart. You know, God, it's a tough racket.
So Anthony, we'll come to you in a second.
Yep.
But Joe, what a fight that was in Manchester, and what were your thoughts on both the guys in the ring?
Yeah, both great fighters. You know, both former champions. Maybe a crossroads in the way to the future. And I think it was, like I said, Anthony won, as far as I'm concerned, won the fight.
And Anthony called you out, didn't he, straight away for a rematch? What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, listen, that's what you're going to do. It's a tough, hard fight. I think Ricky said, I think he put on social media the next day, you know, I've just watched it back and I thought it was a draw. But I'd be keen to do it again. Listen, I'm always, throughout my career, I'd happily fight whoever's put in front of me. But obviously, it'd have to really make business sense, or it was a fight that I won, like Joe said, it was a fight I certainly won. So it'd be a sideways step for us to fight again, unless, you know, like you say, it makes business sense. Now the plan is to get back another world title, whether that be me fight one of the champions now, or get in the position where a fight to become mandatory challenger. So one of them has to fight us. But good to be back to winning ways. Obviously, good to be back in the Manchester Arena, place I love so much, and yeah, good times.
Clip there about the JD Next Gen. You know, there's a lot of exciting fighters coming through, aren't there? And one of the standout fights was Bellotti against Cunningham with a knockout.
Great fight, and I love the JD Next Gen shows. Genuinely, I'm not saying it because we're in here, but we see a lot of the prospects. We saw a few of the Olympians on their shows, and it gives them what sometimes might get lost on the bigger shows, say on the stadium fights. It gives them a bit of the spotlight, and I'm a big fan of him.
They're definitely some of the fighters to be looking out for. But one man, which we are fully aware of, is Carl Frampton. Now, he returns back to the ring next month after a lengthy breakout, and we caught up with the Jackal for his return.
It has been a difficult year. It's probably been the worst year of my professional career, considering the previous year was my best. You just have to push on. I suffered my first loss, and obviously the last fight was cancelled, and I've changed teams completely. But I'm enjoying myself now. I feel like I'm working well with my new trainer, Jamie Moore. To be honest, there's probably only a handful of top trainers in the UK. When my dad suggested Jamie, I thought that was a good shout. Things seem to be going very, very smoothly so far.
I've watched Carl's career for years, so I knew how talented he was. Do you know, I think he's got that X factor, what you can't quite put your finger on. Ricky Hatton had it, and watching him spar, you get the feel, you know, you get a real gauge of how good he is.
It could have been difficult, you know, coming into a completely new setup, but the people here are similar to myself and have a bit of a joke and a laugh, and that's what you need. Boxing's a hard game, so you need to be enjoying it while you're doing it.
Without a doubt, the best fighter I've trained up to date. He's been the most successful so far in his career. When you're a boxing trainer, ideally you'd like to be coaching the best fighters in the world.
The training isn't the same as it was before. We have hard days, we have easier days, we worked on tactics, and I feel at this stage of my career that's what I need. Obviously the last fight was cancelled, and I was extremely disappointed, so it was important for me to have my next fight at home. I want to be a world champion again. The day that I don't believe I can be a world champion is the day that I get out of boxing.
By next summertime, I think we'll be there or thereabouts, ready to challenge and win back a world title.
I'm excited and I'm eager, and that's the way it should be.
I'm looking forward to being able to help him use his best attributes and put in some fantastic performances.
I've plenty more left in the locker, and I can become a world champion again, not just in the featherweight division, but in the super featherweight division also.
So Carl Frampton there said it's been one of the most difficult years of his career, but how good is it to see that man back in the ring?
And excited for a few weeks' time. I actually bumped into him yesterday flying home from Belfast, and he looks in a good place physically and mentally, so now I'm looking forward to his fight.
Yeah, he's a top fighter. I think he's going to be, I wouldn't say stale, but his last few fights, he hasn't looked that great. Obviously, it was a disappointment with his last loss. And sometimes, you know, people need to change things about, maybe just to freshen things up. Nothing taking away anything from their old coach, but sometimes need to revitalise their career, and maybe it seems like
he's enjoying his boxing again, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing, enjoying your boxing. I'm to change the routine, changing things about, and then sometimes that works. So he's a really nice guy. I really hope he comes back and wins the title again.
Yeah, I was going to ask your thoughts on that, because he's changed coach and promoter. So do you think it's going to work out for the good?
I hope so, because, you know, I like him. I think he's one of the best fighters we have at the moment, and I think his excitement, you know, value for money is great. He's a great boxer, so I wish him to come back to his best form and win titles again, hopefully.
Do you think he can be a world champion again?
I think so.
Yeah, certainly. I definitely do. I see Calzaghe as a very special fighter, and he's in a very tough division. But obviously, he's had the 2 fights with Leo Santa Cruz, one winning the title, one losing the title back. So obviously, that's the fight he wants.
Hard fight as well.
It's a hard fight. I mean, he's beaten before, so he's capable of doing it again. But it's a hard division. But is Carl Frampton capable of becoming world champion again? Yeah, I think so, definitely.
Yeah.
And his next fight will be against Garcia.
Yeah.
How do you see that one going?
It's a decent comeback fight for him. You know, Garcia's capable. He'll ask Carl a few questions, but it's a fight where I think Carl have all the answers for, and it's a fight he wins well. Looks good doing it, and I mean he's like a god in Northern Ireland anyway. They love him, but it gets them excited again. He's happy to go back to Belfast.
Yeah, I agree. Basically, I don't think they're going to bring somebody in that's going to give him too tough a struggle, but I think this Garcia probably taking a few rounds, you know, get the ring rest off, get back on the winning ways, and hopefully see him in the world title next year sometime. Well,
it certainly looks like he's been training very hard, and an exercise we're all very aware of is the push-up during training. No, don't worry, we're not going to get you down here, but we did have one challenger. We had Martin J. Ward, and he is the latest boxer to take on the push-up challenge.
My name is Martin J. Ward, and I'm taking part in the JD Press-Up Challenge.
Do you reckon you could beat that?
I think it's not. I think I got 93 when I done it. I've done it in the gym. All the lads are in the gym. I'm not doing it right now. Before you say it.
Thank you very much, guys, for joining us at this JD.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks a lot.
More than welcome. You're brilliant guests, haven't you? But join us next time on episode 9 when we will be reviewing the Tony Bellew and David Haye fight. For now, it's good night from us, and thank you very much.